let me move on here. This is the City of St. Mary's Council Work Session for Classification and Compensation for May 3rd, 2021. I want to welcome everyone, council, visitors, and our citizens that are online. Thank you very much. And Mr. Horton, I'm going to let you do the framing and the intros. From this point on, you let me know what else you need from me.
All right, sir. Good evening, all. As you may be aware, for several years now, one of the priorities that you as council has set was our compensation, our classification and compensation study. We went out for requests for proposals, and Carl Vinson Institute of Government, University of Georgia, go Dogs, was the successful proposal. They have been working very closely with HR and all the rest of the directors. Alex, which you'll meet in just a few minutes, I'm going to let Ms. Donna have the honor of doing that, has worked very hard to come up with what they've come up with. And I think they've done a fantastic job to meet that goal and objective that we've had. So I'm going to turn this over to Ms. Larson. You have the floor, ma'am.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Alex Damon. Many of you, I believe you were all on council back in November when we had our retreat. And Mr. Damon gave us a full overview of what this classification and compensation study consisted of. We're not going to bore you and make you sit through that again. So he's just come up with a little small refresher. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Donna, and I want to thank Mayor and City Council for inviting me this evening to the work session to discuss information associated with our classification and compensation study for the City of St. Mary's. As Donna mentioned, we put together a brief PowerPoint that I'd like to share with everyone. Is everybody able to view it?
I can see it.
Wonderful. So the purpose of my presentation this evening is to provide Mayor and Council, as well as the other meeting participants, with a update associated with our study, as well as a brief overview of the findings associated with our study. Prior to sharing this information again, I quickly want to reintroduce myself to everybody. My name is Alex Damon, and I serve as a public service faculty member at the Institute of Government. I've been with the Institute of Government now around 14 years, and in my capacity as a public service faculty member there, I work within our Human Resource Management Unit, where I specialize in providing human resource management consulting in the area of compensation. So primarily what I do at the Institute of Government are oversee these types of studies and projects throughout the state of Georgia. So to date, I've directed around 90 of these types of studies for a variety of public sector organizations, ranging from municipal governments to county governments to utility authorities to state agencies, as well as higher education institutions. So I've really enjoyed my engagement with the City of St. Mary's on this important initiative. So as a quick reminder, what were some of the key goals and or objectives of our study? So the first objective was the development of new job descriptions. So for each identified position within the city government, we developed a brand new job description for that identified position. How we went about developing those descriptions was by using traditional job analysis techniques. We had employees within the city government complete a very detailed position description questionnaire, which highlighted key attributes or characteristics of their jobs. Additionally, we supplemented and verified information on those submitted questionnaires by conducting video measures, as well as rank and file employees. And all that information allowed us to ensure that we had accurate information in your job descriptions that we developed as a result of this study. The second objective of our study was the creation of a new job classification system. And a quick reminder of what a job classification system is how you group together and organize all the different positions within your city government for pay purposes. And typically the underlying goal of a classification system is to better ensure that similar positions either based on their external market data or based on their job characteristics or of a study of this nature. So how we went about organizing jobs within the city of St. Mary's was by using two different approaches. For most positions, we used a traditional job evaluation methodology where we formally rated positions on 10 unique characteristics, and that helps ensure that within departments and across departments are going to be at similar pay grades. So jobs that have similar knowledge and skill requirements or supervisory and management responsibility or working conditions will be at similar pay grade positions, as well as assistant department director positions. We use market-based pricing techniques, and that allowed us to ensure that we matched as much salary survey data as possible with the internal market data that we had for positions. So that way, moving forward, your department directors and your assistant department directors are going to be at similar market rates to other department directors and assistant department directors that we compared yourselves to. The third objective of our study was to collect and analyze a variety of wage and salary survey data so we could see what are other organizations paying their employees to do similar types of jobs and or occupations. And then we use that analyzed salary survey data as well as that developed classification system to develop a new compensation plan for the city government's consideration, as well as strategies to address internal pay compression issues where employee salaries start grouping together regardless of their service time and their current position. And then finally, I've been working very closely with your administrative personnel throughout the course of this engagement to ensure we're getting appropriate feedback from elected officials, supervisors, and employees, and providing them with the necessary training so they can successfully implement our project recommendations. Next, I briefly want to walk through the different steps that we took to achieve those objectives that I just outlined. So the initial steps of our project took place in 2020, which seems like years ago in this COVID times, where we conducted virtual project orientation sessions with employees and supervisors within the city government. As I mentioned, distributed position description questionnaires where employees provided us with information about their jobs. And then also, as I mentioned, we facilitated discussions and interviews with employees and supervisors to gain additional insight into positions. And that's what allowed us to identify all those unique positions within the city government. And then using that information we collected from employees on their questionnaires and during the interview process, we were able to develop that classification system that I just described. And then we went out and collected a variety of external market data so we could see what those other organizations are paying their employees to do similar types of jobs and or occupations. And the three primary sources of salary survey data that we collected from our study were a custom online salary survey that we designed and administered ourselves at the Institute of Government, and that was distributed to local governments and public sector organizations within coastal Georgia as well as Southeast Georgia. Additionally, we collected data from the state of Georgia's Department of Community Affairs Local Government Wage and Salary Survey database. So this is the annual salary survey that DCA conducts of local governments throughout the state of Georgia. And then finally, we took a look at data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics was a helpful survey because it allowed us to take to examine the broader labor market outside of local governments within the South Georgia non-metropolitan area, and that's where City of St. Mary's and Camden County is classified in. So all that salary survey data and those previous steps allowed us to produce that preliminary report and recommendations that we shared with you all at your retreat in November of 2020. So since y'all's retreat, as Robbie and Donna mentioned, we've been working closely with your administrative staff to update the report and produce a class and comp plan that will work better for the City of St. Mary's. So after that retreat, administrative staff shared feedback provided by elected officials as well as they had with us. Additionally, we facilitated conversations with your department directors to take a look at the findings for their supervisory areas. And then based on all that feedback we had, we made several different updates that improved our initial preliminary report that we shared with you all at the retreat. And some of the feedback items that we incorporated were to improve internal equity, meaning let's better ensure that similar jobs within departments and across departments are going to be at closer pay rates. Second, we focused on utilizing the pay band compensation design that I'll share with you all in the subsequent slide. Third, we use those market-based pricing techniques for your department directors and assistant department directors or an equivalent position. And a simple reminder of what that means is we took a look at all the market data for your department directors and developed a unified pay range that will ensure your department directors are going to be at similar pay rates, which helps internal equity, and then are also in line with pay rates provided in the external market, so they're at in a competitive position for you all moving forward. And then additionally, where applicable, we wanted to create more career ladder opportunities for your workforce within departments. So that way, as they develop different job skills or take on additional duties, there's going to be an opportunity via your classification system and compensation plan to better reward them. For example, having a firefighter progress to a driver engineer classification, or within community development, having a planner having the opportunity to move to a senior planner. Additionally, we work closely with Donna and her staff to pull as up-to-date payroll data as possible so we could rerun numbers and ensure we have as accurate of information for your budget process as possible, and then shared with your administrative staff these updated findings and report in March of 2021. So as I mentioned, based on the feedback we received from y'all, we identified this pay band plan being the best approach for the City of St. Mary's to utilize in terms of your new compensation plan. As I mentioned, most positions in the city government would be assigned to one of these salary grades from grade 8 through 20. And then they would have a pay range with these ranges or bands from a minimum to maximum. And typically what you'll be doing is hiring employees close to that minimum rate, and then throughout their service time in their position, be progressing towards that maximum rate. And then one of the bigger changes, as I mentioned, is we use those market-based pricing techniques to develop those unique pay ranges for your department directors as well as assistant department directors here at this executive 1 band for your department directors and executive 2 band for your assistant department directors. So based on these updates, I wanted to share our cost revisions that were highlighted in our March 2021 report. And please keep in mind, these cost figures are exclusive of fringe benefit costs that the city government would incur when you update base wage and salaries. So the updated cost to transition employees to their classifications, so meaning their job titles and pay grades, and then putting them initially onto the table, would cost around $275,000, or a little less than 6.5% of current base wage and salaries. Additionally, as I mentioned in our project objectives, we wanted to address pay compression issues, meaning making sure that employees were at an appropriate place within their pay band or pay range based on how long they've been serving in their job. So we developed a formula that more or less moved employees at around 0.7% for time and position for each year into the range. So if they're falling below that predicted formula pay, we brought them into the range. However, if they were at the end of the study, we can make sure that employees are at appropriate rates in the range based on how long they've been in their job. So for example, if you go out and hire a police officer tomorrow, they're not going to be making the same amount of money as a police officer who's been in the city for 3 years. So that compression adjustment we estimate would cost an additional $115,000 for a total implementation cost on base wage and salaries as per our. So that concludes my refresher PowerPoint for y'all. I hope it is a few different objectives, reminding y'all what were the goals of our project, what steps did we take to achieve those goals, and then what are we recommending the city government adopt, and how much would it potentially cost the city government to implement these findings. So at this time, I'd like to turn it back to either Robbie or Donna to provide some highlights or insight from an administrative perspective, and then I'll be happy to
Thank you, Alex. We appreciate it. Council, got any questions? We realize that you got this just the other day and the final or the draft to look over. We don't expect you to vote on this tonight. We are going to let you kind of soak it in over the next couple of weeks, and we'll probably make a decision on this at our next council meeting. But now is your opportunity to ask questions about getting clarity on how things were done and that sort of thing. So now's the time.
I would like to, Alex, I'm a little bit slow in what I like to see done. And if you could, I'd like to see what the employees are making now, basically, and what salary, the salary they get, where would that put them? In other words, I know you got different grades and different ways of showing it, but I like to kind of see what the employees are actually making now and what will they be making with the adjustments.
Mr. Jones, Alex has furnished that to us, and we would like to sit down with each one of you and go over that and really
Okay.
talk about the money and the positions and that sort of thing. So each one
Okay.
can provide the input and really look at what we're seeing on our side. I know it's kind of difficult to make a decision without seeing the whole shooting match.
Exactly.
But we are planning to do that with you in the upcoming week.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Over the next 2 weeks, I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But please, if you've got questions about the compensation study, now is the time.
Hey, Alex, thank you so much for all the work that you put into this. Just coming from this type of an organization that had a pay band structure, I understand how difficult it is to transition from where they are now to this new system. My question is, were there any particular roles that were outliers in terms of the amount of increase that that area would need to get? So you see you have an average of about 6%. That's the increase, that's overall. Were there any particular areas, for example, where that individual would receive higher or much higher than the others? Oh.
Yeah, he's dealing with a thunderstorm, so I don't know. We may have lost connection with him for a minute or two.
While we're waiting for him, just a quick kind of comparison. I know it's not, I don't expect anything exact, but how do we look in relation to Kingsland? Are we above them, below them, in the between them, whatever?
Good question. Very good question.
Hold on 1 second. I think there may be something in the actual. Kingsland was looked at. I mean, you can see in your report, the municipalities that were looked at were the city of Brunswick, Jessup, Kingsland, Richmond Hill, Blackshear, Folkestone, and Midway. Then there was several counties that were also looked at as a part of it. I don't know that they showed an overall average of the individual cities. Donna, do you know that?
I think Don is on the phone trying to get Mr. Damon back.
Right.
And Robbie, really all we need is Mr. Damon on the phone. We don't need his video if he can get back on.
Okay.
Maybe that's what she's trying to do right now.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have Alex. He lost his power, so I've got him here on speaker. I don't know how well this will work, but we can try it.
Okay, good. That's just what we were talking about. So I think, Artie, did you get?
All the questions. Unfortunately, the severe storm knocked out power in my home office, so it may return. But in the interim, I'll respond to the questions on Donna's speakerphone. So I believe the question was about any particular areas that may have been further out of line than other areas within the city government. So my initial reaction to the question without carefully reviewing everything again were the areas that had some of the larger increases were within your fire department at the lower level, as well as within your public works and water and sewer area or your lower level maintenance worker positions. I'd say were the two biggest areas where you see large differentials compared to where you're currently paying.
Alex,
Right,
the other
thank
part
you.
was how do we compare directly with Kingsland, the city of Kingsland?
I would have to go back and take a look at the data to see how you specifically compare one-on-one with Kingsland. But on the whole, I think some positions were better in line with others. But at the end of the study, if you fully implement what we're recommending, you'd be at, if not ahead of them when it comes to pay for most of your positions.
Does that answer our question? Okay.
For now.
What other questions do we have?
The other question I have is just looking at the recommendations in order to get these salaries in line. You're saying two different things. So one is just to do an annual market adjustment to get them in line using a consumer price index or an employment cost index. And then the other option is basically based off of their performance, skill, and knowledge. So would each employee receive, in that second instance, would the employees would you do an annual review or base it on their annual review? And hopefully you are doing annual reviews. So it's, I guess, a multi-phase question.
So there's a little bit of feedback at the start of your question, but I believe the question was focused on moving forward, what's the best approach to maintaining the system, correct?
Yes, that would be the correct.
Great.
Yes.
So as we outlined in the report, and I believe you cited, typically we're going to recommend a municipal government such as yours to take two actions. The first would be to review a measure of inflation, whether it's the consumer price index or the employment cost index. And that'll help you determine what would be an appropriate cost of living adjustment or adjustment to your pay table to provide. And what that action or those indices would help you do is ensure, A, your adopted pay table is going to keep up to date with the external marketplace, because you just don't want to adopt the table and not change the min, midpoint, or max rate, because then you'll start falling behind the market again. So, and then additionally, when you make that overall adjustment to the table itself, you provide that similar adjustment to your existing workforce. You'd help ensure that their wages and salaries keep up to date with that cost in living or change in labor market conditions. Then the second action, typically what we recommend for organizations that have a pay band of this nature, is to provide those in-range adjustments so you continue moving employees from minimum towards maximum. And typically with a pay band, a lot of times that's going to be based on a performance appraisal where you can move employees certain percentages based on your budgetary availability into the range based on their performance rating. Or you could potentially base it on a competency-based pay model where employees would be adjusted into the range, either a dollar amount or a percentage amount based on achieving job-related training, certifications, or formal educational attainment. So that'll help alleviate or prevent those future pay compression issues. So employees who are higher performing or better than themselves via job-related training, certifications, et cetera, are moving into the range.
Okay, so that should be interesting. Based off of the current, some of the current indices are kind of below what you're based on your research that you're saying that we're around 6% below, but that is actually much higher than some of the consumer price indexes. All right, thank you.
Well, okay. Well, on the 6%, that's bringing you, so your employees up to the minimum relative to those other organizations that we benchmarked y'all against, those other local governments in the area. In terms of moving forward, that's where you take a look at that consumer price index or employment cost index on an annual basis to make sure you can keep your pay table up to date.
Gotcha, thank you.
Yeah, I've got a question here, and going back to the area where you talked about the police officers that would be starting out at one salary, and it'd be different for somebody at the same level in the organization based on the years served, i.e. if it was a 1-year employee, he would make less than the 3-year employee. And what I'm trying to do is equate that in my mind to the annual evaluation system. And if we get to the merit pay system, I think, which we're almost to, is that not right, Donna?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, and we get to that in salary, and we do the pay increases based on CPI, I imagine is, I think is what we use when we do ours. And we do that every year. People's salaries are going to increase based on that, coupled with the merit pay increases, which means somebody with a 2-year on the force for 2 years could make less than his compadre that is also 2 years on the force based on what that merit was. And so I'm not sure what the point was that you were making with the fireman or fire person, not fire person, but police officer comparison you were doing earlier. Could you kind of explain that a little bit?
So yes, if you highlight on the cost of implementation slide or in the report, the estimated cost of implementation table, there's a column that was referring to the compression adjustment. So what we did is when you bring up a number of employees to the range minimum, they're all going to have varying service time in their job with the city government. So initially we'd bring everyone up to a more competitive entry level salary for the job. And those employees may have 1 year of job time, 3 years of job time. So that would create a compression issue right from the start, because you may have a police officer who's been there 1 year at the minimum, one who's been there 3 years at the minimum, and somebody you start in 2 weeks at the minimum. So what we initially wanted to do is just establish a certain level of separation between employees based on how long they've been in their position. So that way there is a little bit of separation. So when you're hiring in new folks, there's not going to be employees making the same amount of money as somebody who you just hire in the future. And then transitioning in the future, that's when you would start returning to that merit pay system or a competency-based system, moving employees through the range. Did that answer the question?
You're on mute, Dave.
I was looking at the wrong button when I was pressing it. I said thanks. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Jim Gant wanted to speak, if I remember.
I did. I asked a question about Kingsland.
Say it again?
I asked the question about Kingsland,
Kingsland. Okay. All
so
right.
I'm done for now.
Right. All right. So this is Mayor Morrissey. I've got a question for you, Mr. Damon. And I know we could probably pencil them in, but the report that we have is marked draft. So based on this, will you come out with a final? Is that your idea?
Yes, so typically we're issuing a draft report, and it's inclusive of all that feedback that I mentioned post the retreat in November, and what we provided to administrative staff in March. And as Robbie said, he'll be meeting with y'all in the coming weeks to take a look at some of that individual information. And then also, I know Donna has a few last payroll items for us to take a look at, so we can get as accurate of a cost estimate as possible for you. So once we receive any last feedback, either from elected officials or administrative staff, and incorporate any last payroll changes, then we would remove the draft watermark and have a final report. But what we have in the report that y'all were provided, I imagine, going to be about 95% of what would be in a final report. There may be a few minor changes here or there.
All right. Well, will you do me a favor on table 3 and table 4? Would you add the city of St. Mary so we have that as our reference point to the other cities and counties?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. That's one of the things that I was kind of concerned about. And Alex, you've done a great job. We really appreciate it. But I've always been concerned with the police department, fire department. It costs a lot less to retain these people than to train them and get them on board. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we're a little bit above the other municipalities and the county, so that we can retain a lot of these individuals, because we have some great people that's leaving the city of St. Mary's going other places. But if we can get a salary that they feel adequate with, and they know that they're going to get constant raises to stay above certain areas, I think we can keep them. But you're doing a great job, and we really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Well, thank you. And I think that was one of the goals, and at least on the feedback I received from the respective chiefs in the area, I think what we're proposing is heading in a better direction for them as it pertains to personnel issues within those respective departments associated with recruitment and retention issues that may be caused by pay levels. And Donna and or Robbie may be able to provide better insight on those areas as well.
Anything else, folks?
Okay, Mr. Horton,
We-
how would you like to proceed? You're going to call us in individually to have a discussion on the documentation, and then if you're comfortable, will you present this to council on the 17th?
That's what the tentative plan is at this time. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Would you unconfuse for me, when you have your evaluation every year and you get raises based on time and performance and whatever, how does merit pay fit into that? Because merit pay has to do with merit. And isn't that what we're doing when we do the compensation? Is merit pay going to go by the wayside, or is it an adjunct to the other evaluations?
Well, there's several different new thinkings in the marketplace right now. Municipalities, some of them are doing just the cost per index, whatever it is, consumer index. Others, there's a lot of that right now. They're doing an evaluation of the employees, but they're still doing the cost per the index. But my thinking is let's tie it to the evaluation and do that according to, as opposed to doing CPI. That gives employees incentives to work towards a goal. Meeting your goal, they'll get whatever they're allowed or whatever the range is, and it gives them something to work towards. Does
I
that
have
answer your
one-
question?
I have one
My
last question.
understanding of a system that is incentive based is that we'll create a pool of money annually based on the cost CPI, and from that pool, we'll go up and down a little bit on each employee based on what he was graded at and what parameters we set up for that to happen. So employee A may get 80%, say, of the cost CPI raise, and cost or employee C might get 110% of that CPI raise because of his where he falls in the thing. And I think that's pretty much the standard, and that's what I've used at places I've had to deal with that before. So certainly what my baby.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That sums it up.
Yeah. So does that help, Jim, with that?
It's been a long time since I really dealt with it, so I got to get unconfused, but yeah, it helps.
I've used that process as well. I do have one other question. Do you have perhaps a spreadsheet that includes I guess the adjustments? It looks like you had created a formula to help to adjust the pay based on their time and service to kind of level set. Do you have those figures in a spreadsheet that can be reviewed?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, we do. And that's
Okay.
part of what we'll go over with you when we meet.
Got it. Okay. All right.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
I just wonder, is there any of the data that's been developed and produced that we don't have? I mean, is this report all inclusive, or are there pieces of data that we don't have that we should have in order to be ready for the meeting that you want to have with us?
You don't have the spreadsheets. You'll get that when you come in.
Okay. Well, you know, that makes the meeting last just a little bit longer because we won't have the opportunity to take a look at that and formulate our questions. So you may want to consider copying those and getting them to us so we can do that ahead of time and look at them.
Yes, sir. We'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, I'd like to state that I'd like to thank Donna, Robbie, and Alex for the hard work on this. That really helps us out in being able to assess and be able to determine what's best for our employees and for the city for the long term. So thanks for the hard work. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I think we
Great.
all like that. It's
Ditto.
really important that we take care of the employees and get them at the right level so that we can have them as viable members of the city. So each of you are thanked, as well as Alex, for the terrific work he did at putting it together under your guidance. Thank you.
All right, so Donna, this is the mayor.
Yes.
On page 16 on the footnotes, our salaries, straight salary compensation is 4,000,003. So I'm going to assume a 1.4 for benefits all in. And so that puts our total compensation package for the 124 employees at about $6 million. Does that sound right?
Jennifer might get better answer that question. I don't know that number off the top of my head. She's been working on budgets, so she may know that.
All right. Jennifer,
Would you repeat that, please?
the total compensation is 4,000,003, but if I assumed 1.4 for benefits, the total compensation is with benefits is about $6 million for the city of St. Mary's.
That sounds really close.
I just want to make sure council has a perspective on the size of what we're dealing with.
Yes. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll give you a number that will be pretty close. So right now with salaries and benefits, we're looking at 6.6 million.
6.6. Okay,
Okay.
so it's over 50%. I think.
No, that wouldn't be over 50%.
6.6 or 3.
That is over 50%, yes.
Okay,
Right
thank
there.
you. It's just taking me a minute to get my, you said 6.6?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what
Over
we're
50%.
estimating for 2020 without any adjustments for the salaries cut study.
Okay. All right. That's an important number. Thank you. All right. Robbie, any closing remarks?
Now, we certainly thank Carl Vinson and Alex and all their hard work on the study, and the department heads, and of course, Miss Donna, and Jennifer, for all their efforts into the whole process. It's been an ongoing thing for quite some time, and I think we've got a good product now that we can really sit down and work with and work from. So thank you to all of y'all for allowing that to happen, and for all the hard work of everybody.
Okay. All right. Again, thank you all. And council, we will start again in 20 minutes if you want to stay live. I don't think there's any reason why we can't. Unless you just want to, shut your laptops until such times you want to get back on, or you can just, you can dial out and dial back in with the same address. That's correct, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, if everyone will just mute their microphones, and where you see at the bottom of your screen, it says stop video. If you'll click that, that'll take your picture off of it until you come back on, and you can do this, just reverse that process. But make sure you mute.
I want to welcome those citizens who are online already. This is the city of St. Mary's, Georgia, and we will start our city council meeting for May 3rd, 2021 at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for attending. All right, Deborah, how are you?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
All right.
Larry White, 102 Sylvia's Court, St. Mary's.
Hello, Mr. White. How are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Deborah? I'm going on mute
I'm
now.
fine, sir. Yes, sir.
For the public that is on, this is the City of St. Mary's City Council meeting for May 3rd, 2021, and we will start at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for being on.
Alan Rassi, this is for you.
And it's
Was that Jim?
probably ham, right?
Oh, you would do that to me, wouldn't you? I love you, man. Love you.
Miss Lisa, Mr. Hughes, Mr. Gant, Mr. Goodman,
evening.
Ms. Jones, Mr. Horton, Ms. Walker Reed, we got Mr. Rassi, we got Bobby. Jennifer's online. Dave's online. So, good. Thank you, everyone, for coming back. Appreciate it. Welcome, Mr. Blackerby. Thank you for being online with us.
Of course.
All right, everyone, we will start in 1 minute. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of St. Mary's City Council meeting for May 3rd, 2021. And our invocation tonight is going to be by our council member, Jim Gant. Mr. Gant.
Please join me in prayer. God, we thank you for another day in your world and what a beautiful and diverse world you have created. We especially thank you for this magnificent United States of America, home of the free and the brave. As we continue to be challenged with the COVID-19 virus, we thank you for the virus vaccines, which were developed in amazing time and seem to be very effective in combating this dreadful virus. We continue to pray for all those who have been affected, and especially for those that have been lost to this disease. During this virus pandemic, we also give special honor and pray for all the medical and related service heroes. Also, we honor the men and women in blue and those who serve in our military. Please keep them safe from harm and always know how much we appreciate their sacrifice, patriotism, and sense of duty. Lastly, please bless the citizens of St. Mary's and the City Council, giving us wisdom to accomplish what is best for all our citizens tonight and always as we serve on this City Council. Amen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gant. Mr. Rasty, could you do the Pledge of the Allegiance for us?
I'd be honored. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk, could we have a roll call?
Yes, sir. Councilman Jones, post 1.
I'm here.
Councilman Goodman, post 2.
Present.
Councilman Gant, post 3.
Present.
Councilman Riley, post 4.
Here we are. Present.
Yes, sir. Councilman Rassi, post 5.
Present.
Councilman James, post 6.
Here.
Mayor Morrissey.
I'm here. Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. Council, you have in front of you the April 19th, 2021 regular City Council meeting minutes. Could I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Ms. James, and I need a second, please.
Second, Alan Rassi.
Yes, sir, Mr. Rassi. Any further comments, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain. Madam Clerk, would you mark that as unanimous? Thank you.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, we're going to move on to presentations, and we have a board appointment for a vacancy for the Downtown Development Authority. And before we do that, I just want to convey our thanks to Gary Strait and to his wife Jeannie, who is his stalwart supporter, and thanking him for his service on the Downtown Development Authority, of which he was a very engaged and heartfelt member. And we appreciate everything that Gary has done for us. I just wanted to thank him publicly for that. So, Council, we have one appointment and we have two candidates, Mr. Ray Antonelli and Ms. Karen Brooks Preble. So what I'd like to do is go down the roster, if I may, and if you would give me your candidate that you've chosen. And I think we'll mix it up. We'll just go in reverse order. We'll start with Ms. James. And so Ms. James, you have the choice for the Downtown Development Authority.
Sure. Raymond Antonelli, please.
Okay. And then Mr. Goodman, or excuse me, I'm going backwards. I have done that incorrectly already. Mr. Rassi.
Karen's Brooke Preble.
I think we'll mix it up. We'll just go in reverse order. We'll start with Ms. James. All right, let me get the. I want to make sure I'm doing this correct. Excuse me. Okay, Mr. Riley.
Mr. Ray Antonelli.
All right, Mr. Gant.
Karen Brooks Preble.
And Mr. Goodman.
Karen Brooks Preble, please.
And Mr. Jones.
I'd like to second you on thanking Mr. Strait for his service, Mayor, and I will go with Raymond Antonelli.
All right. Okay. Council, it is a tie vote. So do you want to have some discussion about this and revote?
Mayor Morty, Mayor
Yes.
Morty, sir, in the presence of a tie, you are deciding vote, sir.
All right. Okay. And I can do that. I will choose Mr. Antonelli. All right. Thank you. And if you could make sure Ms. Brooks Preble is contacted along with Mr. Antonelli, and hopefully at some point in time she can participate in this also. Appreciate everything, council. Thank you. All right. The next item.
Mayor Morty.
Oh, we need a motion. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I have a motion for the approval of this item?
So moved.
Second,
That was Ms. James?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So, and I think Mr. Jones, you seconded?
yes.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Madam Clerk, it's unanimous.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you. I also want to welcome publicly Mr. Blackerby and our Chief Wilkie, who's also on the line here with us, and our Public Works Director, Mr. Marr, and Mr. Hughes, our Downtown Development Coordinator. Excuse me. Community Development Director. My apologies. Okay.
And don't forget Ms. Brown.
I'm going to introduce her.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Yeah, that's quite all right. So we have with us Jennifer Brown, who is our Finance Director for the City of St. Mary's. And yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon. I hope each of y'all are doing fine tonight. I have the finance report for the 9th month of our fiscal year ending March 31st of 2021, and was wondering if anyone had any questions in reference to it.
I don't, other than I think using your crystal ball, we have April, May, and June. And your expectations on trend line, do you think we'll maintain or improve, or do you have any sense of that at all?
I think that we're probably going to maintain for the next few months. Of course, most of our major revenues have already came in for the year, but we'll still receive our lost revenue and some other rental income and stuff that the city has. But I think we'll just pretty much stay steady from here till June.
Okay. All right. Council, anyone?
I have a quick question, Ms. Brown. In several months past, it seemed like percent to budget year to date had been kind of in line with how far along we were. It looks like quite a few areas are, we are over budget. Is that something that we expect to mitigate itself over the next couple of months or no?
We will. Some of the ones that are over, like your senior center, the program there, the meal program has exceeded what we normally do because of the pandemic. So we'll actually go in and ask council to do an adjustment to get that budget in line, because we'll need it in line for audit. But yeah, I would think that most of them is gonna probably stay about where they're at, and I don't expect any overages in any of the other budgets.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, Jennifer, we'll look for your good efforts again next month. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council, we can move on to set the consent agenda, and we have an old business item for personal transportation vehicles. I suspect we're going to want to talk about that based on your workshop.
Discuss.
Yeah. And okay. Then we have new business, the St. Mary's Intercoastal Gateway Marina Project.
Consent.
Consent.
There we are. I consent.
All right, I hear consent. The National Park Service has been removed. The school resource officer.
Mr. Mayor, I think Mr. Gant had something to say.
I'm sorry, sir.
No, I was muted, so I couldn't be heard, but I consent too. I just was making a point that we got a good news story and we should probably just tell the public.
Yeah.
That's it. So
Well, I
I'll
think
consent.
Mr. Burke has that in his manager's report. Thank you. All right. So again, item B has been removed. Item C, and let's see, we got a little muting that we need, if we could. Thank you. Well, almost. All right, item C is the school resource officer memorandum of understanding.
Consent.
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 The budget ordinance amendment on the general fund for GMA Health.
Consent.
The budget ordinance on amendment for general fund on fire insurance for the truck.
Consent.
Consent.
We have a reverse subdivision request for 108 and 106 Wild Horse Court.
Consent.
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 We have a minor subdivision request for south side of Coleraine Road by Jeff Foster on behalf of Cornett, Wheeler, and Associates.
Consent.
And we have a rezoning request for Lakeshore Drive by John DuPont.
Consent.
Consent.
All right,
Consent.
we have an ordinance amendment on chapter 110 zoning. Mr. Hughes.
Discuss.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Council. We have a consent agenda that consists of new business. Item A, C, D, E, F, G, and H. If I've got that correct, can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Alan Rancy.
All right, and then I need a second.
Second, Riley.
All right, any further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstained. Madam Clerk, that's unanimous. Thank you, Council.
Yes, sir.
All right, so now, Council, I need approval of the agenda as set. Have a motion?
So
Motion.
moved.
Who, I'm sorry, who was that?
Artie Jones.
Mr. Jones, okay. And I need a second.
Second, Riley.
All right. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstain? Madam Clerk, that's unanimous.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. Madam Clerk, we have a granting audience to the public, and we would request that they give their name and address, respect the 5-minute time limit, and this first granting audience to the public is on the items that are on the agenda. So do we have any requesters?
Yes, sir. We just have one citizen that signed up for the first granting audience, Mr. Larry White.
Okay, Mr. White. Are you there?
Yeah, Larry White. Yes, Larry White, 102 Sylvia's Court, St. Mary's.
Yes,
I'd
sir.
like to address the item A of old business, the PTV ordinance to replace
Yes, sir.
the low-speed motor vehicle. I see that per the packet that you've changed several changes to the proposed ordinance. And one of these changes was the last one, which states the designation of state highway crossings shall be made by the city manager after consultation with the community development director, the chief of police, and the public works director. Now, does that mean that you can make the crossing at Douglas Drive across Spur 40 a designated crossing for private vehicles, for PTVs? I know you can't answer that right now, but I'd like you to consider that. I wasn't clear when I read the change whether you was able to do that or not. So maybe the city manager can address that in his remarks at the end of the meeting. Also, I know it doesn't say it in there, but don't forget about the people of Shadowlawn. As it stands right now, they have no way of using their PTVs to get downtown. One other item is if we can't cross state highways with a PTV, I can't go downtown from my residence, and I also can't go to the senior center from my residence, which for some people, that used to be a primary means of transportation to the senior center, which back then was golf carts. And that's all I have.
Yes, sir, and I've captured the notes, and we will address it at the city manager option time. Okay. Madam Clerk, that was it?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I want to thank the public for listening in too while they're here. We are now old business, and our first item is the PTV, and that was also a work session that was last week. So I think I'd like to open it up for discussion, and if there's any comments one way or the other, or if every council's ready, we can vote. So who would like to go first?
At the work session, we talked about the problem with golf carts or PTVs, whatever, on Dilworth. But we didn't really set any kind of answer to that problem. And I noticed that we have done that in a revision. And I'd like to listen to the community development director tell us how he got to what he's recommending for diverting traffic from Dilworth along these side streets.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dan. So based on my understanding from our work session, that was the intended, or the general consensus was to move in that direction to mitigate some of the issues that we're having on Dilworth. Dilworth having a speed limit of 35 miles per hour, plus that giant bend in the curve in the road. There's a portion of Dilworth where we're able to address this issue from Seminole Avenue to up to West Ashley Street. So in that area, you have the option of using one of the side streets, one of the other streets that runs north and south, in order to get up north or south, and then head back east or west to make your connection along that route. And so that was generally what Mr. Horton and I understood from that conversation. So we wrote it into this. Now with that, it is a policy decision. As Amanda had pointed out last week during our work session. So y'all have the option here. It would be as simple as striking that second line. But that segment that we chose was specific because there is a way to get around it if you were to keep that in there. So the people that live on the west side of Dilworth Street would still be able to cross over Dilworth Street to get to a different north-south road, maintaining that option for them to continue to use their PTVs, or really their golf carts as we commonly call them.
I take it we will have to sign this idea.
Yes, sir.
And I guess we'll mark out some kind of a map for where the sign is going to go.
Yes, sir. So, and you know, the majority of this is about education and sharing the importance of these rules, more so than on the enforcement side. We're focused on education, so there will be some signage that we'll work with Public Works on installing to let people know what those are. We'll use some of our portable message signs as appropriate when we get ready to implement these changes. And that's why we built in that 30-day window essentially for us to be able to get that message out there.
Okay. Who else? Questions, comments? Well, it's been a long time coming, and I applaud your work session, everyone. I'm sorry I wasn't there, but it sounds like you made a lot of progress. So thank you. If there are no more questions, then could I have a motion on this PTV ordinance?
I make the motion we approve the PTV ordinance as presented. Goodman.
I second that.
Mr. Goodman, and then a second from Mr. Gant. Any further discussion or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Madam Clerk, please mark that as unanimous, and thank you
Yes,
very
sir.
much, council. It's good work, really good work. All right, and now we're down to new business, and the next is an ordinance amendment for chapter 110 zoning. And why don't we, Mr. Hughes, do you want to just frame this for us, and then we can go into some questions?
Yes, sir. So this ordinance amendment focuses on the C1 Central Business District. So that is all the commercial area that's in the downtown, stretching along Osborne Street and then along St. Mary Street generally. There are, I think, maybe a couple of other pockets where it extends to. The district has already a mix of uses. So we've got single-family homes that are in this neighborhood, or in this district. We've got restaurants, we've got hotels, we've got different bed and breakfasts, city halls within this district. And then we've got some uses that don't currently fit into this district, but that are already there. And so, for example, the property across the street from City Hall, the former bookstore, is now currently a duplex. Presently, that's not something that's permitted by our ordinance. And so what this does is it opens up some avenues for some different residential opportunities, so that we allow those types of uses, because it's important for the opportunities that we have further up north on Osborne Street. There's some empty vacant land, and there's been some discussions by folks about the opportunities to develop some residential uses, but those aren't single family homes. So that we're able to add some more residences for folks to enjoy that don't necessarily need a 1,200 square foot house or 2,000 square foot house. But a more simple apartment is more their style. It also addresses allowing some shopkeepers the ability, if they've got room at the back of their store that's unused, if they're able to convert it into a residence or supplying the appropriate building codes, fire codes, life safety codes, then they would have that ability to. Presently, in order to do that, they would have to convert something on the second floor. They wouldn't be able to do it on the first floor. So this provides a lot of flexibility that we see needed for the town. And so this was approved by Planning Commission 5-0 at their meeting.
All right, thank you, sir. Hey, who would like to go first?
This is Riley. I was the one that said to discuss, and the reason I did was exactly for the reason that you had Mr. Hughes explain it, and I think he did a great job. It shows that there's really no change. It's just taking an update and updating that ordinance to reflect what we really have, and that's what I was trying to get. So, with that said, if there's no other questions, I'll make a motion that we approve it.
All right, well, why don't we do the motion from Mr. Riley? Could I have a second? I think
Second.
from Mr. Rassi was trying to do it. All right, so we can go back into discussion, and the point I can tell you is that I have had discussion with builder/developers, and they were very interested in this because exactly to the point that they thought it added flexibility and some creativity for residential development as well as commercial. And I think the opportunities for folks, I think we may see some really interesting results from this ordinance. But again, that was my conversations with the builder developer community. So, anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Sorry, really quickly. Any feedback from the existing business owners?
No, Ms. James,
None.
we haven't heard anything from existing business owners. I brought up the example of the shopkeeper though, because there is one that is interested in utilizing that provision.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Madam Clerk, that's unanimous.
Yes,
Thank you
sir.
very much, council. I am interested to see what might come of this one. Could be pretty exciting. And now, we are moving on to the report from our city manager, Mr. Robbie Horton. Robbie?
Sorry, I had to find my mouse there for a minute. Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody's doing well. The hot topic of tonight, as far as I'm concerned, is yard debris. I know that most of you have been getting phone calls or whatever regarding that. We want to ask you to do a favor. If you do get folks that are calling you, because we know they're tired of calling into City Hall and they feel like their complaints are going on deaf ears, they're not, but we need to keep track of those phone calls. So we're asking for all of our citizens to please continue to call City Hall and let us know if they have issues with their yard debris or trash or pickup or whatever. That way we can keep an accurate count of where the problems are and what's going on and how long. We're trying to keep our database accurate so we can stay on top of the problems. Over the last couple of weeks, Waste Management has been working additional crews and trucks in the city. Myself, Mr. Marr, and council members Rassi and Riley all met with Waste Management today and had a very hard conversation, I think is the best way to say it, with them. But they are very optimistic that they think they're getting a grip on it. As most of you know, we've been working a city crew along with that. And so the more we can stay on top of it together, the better we're going to be. But we need to be able to hold that accountable number and know where the problems are. So if you'll just please remind everyone to please call into City Hall. That's 510-4000, option 1. And they'll be happy to take the information and we'll see that it gets on the logs and everything else and it's forwarded to the appropriate people. So if you do that for us, it'd be a big help. I don't know how many of you are aware of what this week is in particular, but this week is a special occasion, at least for one of the members that are on this phone call. This is City Clerk Week. That's recognized, and we want to take a moment to recognize our city clerk, Ms. Deborah Walker Reed. She's a fantastic individual and awesome, and she does a great job for all of us. And we just want to say thank you for everything that you do, Ms. Deborah. We'll never be able to say it enough. So thank you for who you are and what you do. And she was even out yesterday making sure that there was a golfing event for a local charity, and she was there supporting the charity and making sure that we all had appropriate water, food, and everything else. So that's just who Miss Deborah is. So thank you, Miss Deborah.
You're welcome.
All right. The other big news, as it stands right now, we are planning to be back in council chambers for our May 17th council meeting. Mask will be required. Okay, hold on, guys. You may throw something at me by the time I'm done. But mask will be required while in council chambers for all participating. That is so we can do reduced social distancing. Instead of 6 feet, we can go to 3 feet between people, but seating will still be very limited. Our plan is to bring all of y'all off of the dais and put you on the floor. We will have sneak guard protection for each one of you, but any other participants that are involved will be required to have masks. Once the room is full, it will be closed off. We still have the live streaming as we're doing right now, but doing it the way we used to do it. that citizens can participate in. So we will be tentatively be back in the chambers for the 17th meeting. We have been working very diligently over the last several 2 months on our budget. We are putting the final tweaks on that now, and hopefully we'll be meeting with all of you here very soon. So stay tuned for that in the upcoming week. Excuse me, for additional information. On the marina, as most of you know, you just approved the first phase of our marina project. That has come about due to what is referred to as a big grant. It's not because of the size of it, which it was a big grant, but it's also referred to as a boating infrastructure grant. The city of St. Mary's received one of the largest boating infrastructure grants that has been put out in quite some time. We're very proud of that, and it has been a long road, as each one of you have been a part of it for quite some time. But this is the kickoff of it, and hopefully somewhere around the end of the year, we should have a new marina out there, at least completing with the first phase, and we will roll into additional phases as the utilization of that marina increases. It's going to require an additional permit from DNR in order to begin those phases, but that is the stipulation that they have put on us. So congratulations to each and every one of you. I think we've got something very good and exciting coming down the pipeline with that particular project. Hope that answered all of your questions on that. Golf cart ordinance, per the request of Mr. White. We will be looking at the different intersections and different locations, trying to optimize the ability to get as much of the city downtown as possible. However, we do realize, because we're spread out in the manner that we are, we're not going to be able to get the entire city. So the crossing of 40 is going to be important. We're going to look at it. We're going to look at traffic information and other things of that nature before any decision is made for those crossings. And they will be crossings. They will not be places where you can turn off and get onto Highway 40. You must go across, period. But that's kind of how we're going to look at it in some of our brief methodology on how we're going to make it happen. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes my report for this evening, unless you have any other questions for me.
Rob, just to make sure we've captured what Mr. White asked, he referenced Douglas Drive, Shadow Lawn, and area around the senior center. If we could make sure that that's in your review.
We can certainly do that as a part of the review.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Yes. Any questions for Mr. Horton? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Council, Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir.
We didn't put anything in the agenda packet because we didn't want you to know that we were going to recognize you. So it was a little bit of a conundrum about what to do. So
Okay.
we appreciate there's nothing formal in the document, but
that you can't do a proclamation because you write all the proclamations.
Yeah, exactly. So
Thank you. It's the thought that counts.
All right, good. Is there anybody for second granting audience to the public?
No, sir.
All right. Then why don't you review the calendar for us?
Yes, sir. On Wednesday, May 5th at 5:00 p.m. in the Main Street office, we have the Development Authority of St. Mary's meeting. On Thursday, May 6th at 2:00 p.m. in the Planning and Building Conference Room at 2:00, we have the Tree Board meeting. On Friday, May 7th at 9:00 a.m., we have St. Mary's Municipal Court and Council Chambers. On Monday, December 10th at 8:30 a.m. in the Main Street office, we have the Downtown Development Authority meeting. On Tuesday, May 11th at 6:00 p.m. in the Main Street office, we have the Stormwater Enterprise Study Working Committee. And I would also like to announce to council and to the public, I know some are on the distribution list, but the Stormwater Committee did release their educational video, and that is on the city homepage under latest news. It's also on the city homepage under agendas and videos, and it was also sent out to the citizens via distribution list today. And they are rolling that out. They rolled that out this morning at 8 o'clock. On Thursday, May 13th at 9:30 a.m. in council chambers, we have the Orange Hall Management Committee meeting. At 5 o'clock p.m. in the Main Street office, we have the St. Mary's Intercoastal Gateway meeting. And then on Monday, May 17th, back into council chambers, we'll have the city council meeting.
Okay. Mr. Horton, could you, I'm glad to see Orange Hall Management Committee meeting is still on for the 13th, huh?
So far.
Okay. So I think I've lost a little bit of where we were on the Orange Hall project. Could you just recap that if you've got that in your head at all?
Yes, sir. We have completed the fire sprinkler system has been completed in Orange Hall. And that has been buttoned up and approved, and we have paid for it and everything else like that. So that's a big plus. It's been something I've been personally working on for 20 years.
Right.
So we're excited about that. We've got a grant that we've put in for the, Mr. Hughes may be able to help me here if I messed it up too bad. But we've put in for a grant to have a study done of the grounds and the property of the best utilization for that. We're trying to keep the mindset of what the building was originally intended for, which is a community center and a community event center, small scale. So that's where we're at with that. And Orange Hall Committee's been working real well with us on that, and that's where we're at.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right. With that said, why don't we'll continue with our reverse order idea tonight, and we'll start out with Ms. James for council comments.
Thank you very much. I would first like to thank our city clerk for her service, and just from A to Z, I don't think that I would be able to be as prepared as I am and as knowledgeable without her help and support. So thank you very much for everything that you do each and every day. I know what you do to go above and beyond, and it's much appreciated. And I'm sure my colleagues would agree with me. I also glad to see that Chief Wilkie is here today. I would like to thank him and his department for their service. 3 of your officers volunteered to help out with our suicide prevention awareness run the other day. That was extremely helpful to the organizer of the organization of that race. Saved them a lot of money, and just very thoughtful and very selfless of them. So please, I don't have those officers' names. I did have a chance to talk to them and thank them personally, but thank you so much. That means a lot for our community. There's a lot going on. And it helps when we have the support of the city and specifically the police department in this situation. So thank you so much.
Glad to help. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. And then just for our citizens, I just wanted to encourage you to continue to bring your concerns to our attention. It's really important that we are aware and we want to listen to and hear some things that you have on your mind. So thank you so much for that. And as always, thanks to my colleagues for their help and support and workmanship, I guess. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, so Mr. Rassi.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to first and foremost thank our fire and police department and our public works departments for the hard work, as well as the staff inside City Hall for all the hard work they put in. It was a distinct privilege today for the Kiwanis Club to have Chief Blackner and 3 of his firefighters come and present the program today, and it was a very, very informative program. And Robbie, I think he almost as good as you, maybe better. But anyways, I had to share that. But and then the other thing I want to share with you is that we have a huge event going on in downtown St. Mary's this Saturday, and Camden County High School Fine Arts Academy presents the Cumberland Sound Music Festival, and this will be the chorus program as well as the band program presenting the program this Saturday from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the amphitheater at Howard Gilman Waterfront Park in St. Mary's. We will have a remember to bring your lawn chair and blankets. Bring a lot of cash because we have a 50-50 raffle. We have many silent auctions. And this is to benefit over 100 students going to Hawaii for the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor. And we have several seniors that are coming to perform for their classmates who will not be able to go next year or this fall to Pearl Harbor, but they're doing all they can to support their fellow classmates. And it's just an incredible opportunity. And I just want to encourage everyone to come out and support our students and in our county school system. It's pretty awesome. Thank you.
That's great news, Alan. Thank you very much. Okay. And you say that's 4 on Saturday?
Yes, sir. 4 to 9.
Okay. Will they be spraying for no-see-ums in advance?
Projected a 10-mile-an-hour wind for that Saturday at 6 p.m. So that's what we're praying for.
Okay, good. All right. So, Mr. Riley.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First thing I'd like to do is to echo Councilwoman James' comment with respect to our city clerk. She does an outstanding job each and every day, and I'm sure that she treats us all with the greatest respect and trying to make us all smart enough not to be stupid when we get out in public. So thank you, Deborah, for that. And the second thing I mentioned, and I'll just do this briefly, is the team that's working on the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Program has conducted a debrief with our DNR folks, and we're real close to getting this award. And we're going to do a little brainstorming session this week and try to come up with what may get us over the top. There's just a couple items with respect to water access and things like that. And the importance of this is it's really going to enhance the north end of the city and run this trail all the way from the Tabby Ruins Comfort Station all the way up to Crooked River State Park, and that'll enhance the that area up there. And when we get the winding road connect to finish, that'll bring the East Coast Greenway all the way from out on 17 all the way up to Crooked River State Park, and we're already heading downtown on it. So it should be a good thing. We're going to work real hard and try to get that for the city. I just want to give a shout out to the people that organized the Camden House tournament yesterday. It was really a superb event, well attended, many volunteers, as has already been mentioned. The board of directors out there really did a fine job, and I'm sure that they raised many dollars to help that building be a success over the next year and helping abused spouses and their children that they bring to that, and they do a terrific job there. And our own Miss Lisa also volunteered for that, in addition to Jones. Artie was there volunteer. In fact, he helped me get my golf carts to my cart. So thank you, Artie. And let's see what else. One additional comment on or a couple on the Stormwater Task Force. I'm not going to repeat everything that our city clerk addressed, but we do also, thanks to the city manager and the Miss Judy over at the library, we have the computers over there available for them to go and watch the training session people that don't have their own computer or access, they can go to the library. They'll spool it up for them and show them that training. And I think that that's a big plus. And also the questions, there's address for questions if anybody has them, that's located on the inserts that are going to be in the newspaper this week and attached to the water bill, as well as the Dropbox where you drop off your water bills is going to be used for those, again, that don't have a computer and want to ask the question. They can write the question down, drop it off there. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry, Mr. Gant.
Well, I'm going to focus on one thing, absolutely one thing, and that is to thank Deborah from the bottom of my heart for everything she does for all of us, and particularly me. I'm an old man and I need help, and she does everything for me. So thank you, Deborah. I really appreciate it.
Okay. Mr. Goodman, good luck following that one.
I won't even try, but I certainly will not pass up the opportunity to augment everything that my fellow council persons have said. Deborah Walker-Reed keeps us all out of trouble. When I go to Atlanta and mention her name, the people from GMA and the clerical staff literally stand on their feet because she is highly revered all over this state. And I can't thank her. Yes, Deborah, that's you. Thank you so much. I am really pleased to see progress on this golf cart, personal transportation vehicle. And I want to thank Ken Hughes and Robbie for working so hard on that, and to the fellow council members for listening to my experiences, as I probably have put more golf cart driving time in than anybody, not on golf courses, but on the streets of St. Mary's. And this is a good compromise. It doesn't hurt anybody that lives to the west of Dilworth to stay off of Dilworth, just cross it and get on those other lesser main arteries. So thank you very much for that, Ken and Robbie. And also, I am very pleased, Robbie, to see us going back to in-person council meetings. And I'll tell you now, particularly Artie and Alan, I will not be bringing you a sandwich, but I will have one for me, and because I'm getting quite used to eating during the council meetings. So y'all are on your own. I will loan you my softball card, Rob, Alan and Artie. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much.
Probably going to hold you to it too. All right. So, Mr. Jones. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Goodman. I noticed that you ate from the time we started until it was your time to talk. You do a good job at that, and don't worry. I won't ask you for anything because I know you won't share it. But I'm trying to figure out how you're going to surround yourself with food at our open meetings. I'd like to echo about our city clerk. I wouldn't have been able to make it without the help of Miss Deborah Walker-Reed, because she's kept me out of a lot of trouble. She's let me know what I'm supposed to do and what I'm not supposed to do. And she make us work together in the sandbox without feuding. Chief Wilkie, I just want to commend your police department. I guess every week something happens, but I had the misfortune of trying to help one of our older members with a cell phone. He had a smartphone and he couldn't use it, and we couldn't even see the picture. So, we just kept fumbling with it. And after a while, somebody said, 911, can I help you? And we said, well, we don't need any help. We're just trying to fix a cell phone. Well, like they do, they came out anyway. We thought that everything was okay. And a police officer came out and he said, is everything okay? And we said, yes, everything is fine, except we still don't know how to operate this cell phone. He took it in the garage and so it would be darker, and he fixed it and showed me and the older gentleman how to work it. And things like that are what you really appreciate. So tell all your officers to keep up the good work.
Will do. Thank you, sir.
All right. You may have to help me with this, Mr. Rossi. We have started, Camden had their, what we call Blue Dawn, where the football players come out and try. We had over 175 guys come out and try for the team. And they started practicing today. And they're supposed to be having some kind of a game at the end of this month. Is that right, Mr. Rossi?
Yes, it'd be a Tuesday, May 18th. That'd be the
Okay.
blue-white scrimmage.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to commend and thank all of the city workers. You know, we don't always show that we appreciate you, but right on down from Robbie to the people that take care of the grounds and things, we really appreciate you, because every time I see them, they always hold themselves in a great manner. They make you feel proud of them when you see them on the streets or in the office. And Robbie, you and Ken have done a great job, and I really want to commend y'all on that. So we even seem to be mulling pretty well as a council. I haven't had any negative things to say about Jim Goodman or Alan or anybody else. So let's keep up the good work, guys.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Kudos to our city clerk, of course, and for all her help during the and to all of us. So Deborah, you know, we're very appreciative. And like I said, we couldn't put it on the agenda because it wouldn't have been a surprise. So
Thank you, sir.
all right. I think everybody is anxiously anticipating the changes that are starting to come with our COVID protocols. And the more the governor's executive orders come out with the releases, and the more the population has been inoculated, the better I think we all feel. So we're looking forward to breathing new life back into all of our activities, and I'm very appreciative. And of course, I'm looking at Alan and I'm thinking of the 4th of July, and I'm very excited about that. Very excited. I think we talked about it, but I just did have an opportunity to talk to Chief Lappner, who went out to California for the service for our fire, Efren Medina. And apparently it was quite moving and quite impressive, and how they respected the young man and everything that happened. So we just want to remember that one more time. And then lastly, Mr. Horton, we started the changes at this with the meals at the senior center this week, and we've changed the number of days. Has that all been implemented?
Yes, sir, that is correct. We've moved the meals to the, and I wish Donna was online still, but we moved them to the senior center. We have reduced the number to 3 days a week. And we are targeting right now for July 1st to go back into the senior center. And that's full operation. We have been in operation for quite some time now. They've had art classes, yoga class, laughing yoga. I don't know, sounds like fun. All kinds of different classes that have been going on during this whole time. They've got a new program that just recently started, a gardening program that has just, it's crazy. I mean, the people are coming out and they're doing great, and we've got good things happening, and we're really excited about the future of our senior center in every direction. So,
Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. I really appreciate it. And so to close out, if I could have a motion for adjournment.
Alan
So
Ramsey.
moved.
I got Mr. Rassi. How about a second?
Second.
Mr. Jones, any further comments or discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Madam Clerk, that is unanimous. And thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
everyone. Have a great evening. Have a great week. We live in paradise. We do. All right. Good night.
Good evening, folks.
Here's what Channel 4 just said.